Devil Hunters Chainsaw Man chapter 155 titled The Old Me has me wondering if the old control devil is coming back, but more importantly, is Nayuta going to survive all of this? Now, if you're caught up to Chainsaw Man, it should be no stranger that the bi-weekly devil is a thing, and while yes, it does strike again for chapter 156, let's go ahead and quickly discuss what happened in chapter 154, where Denji and Nayuta were still dealing with this crazy mob after Denji single-handedly defeated all the hybrid devils pursuing him, and through that, Nayuta ended up using her abilities on several of the mob members to help Denji nearly escape the situation he was in, but as a result of that, Barem ended up pointing his gun towards Nayuta, wondering what exactly was going to happen to her and is someone going to save her. So, chapter 155 begins as a female protester intervenes, urging the mob to stop their attack on Nayuta. She asks the mob not to resort to such hostility. And I do like how the woman points out it's been one day and everything is in shambles, only to fuel the fire of what the fire devil ultimately did and, well, the lasting effects of the Chainsaw Man church. And this also kind of cements and reinforces how dangerous mob mentality can truly be, where if people don't even know exactly what's happening, but they just kind of incite violence for the hell of it, as a result, someone could get hurt. And from this perspective, unfortunately, is Nayuta's character. She is truly innocent in all of this, but Barem, being a fantastic antagonist that I love to hate and that Fujimoto is painting for us, now he acts like Nayuta is controlling him as he points a gun to himself, saying, I don't want to die, she's taking over my body. And while we don't know exactly what happens to Nayuta, this is where some people are wondering, is the death of Nayuta going to happen? Now, normally I would say no, because I feel like there's so much setup for the reborn again control devil to do more in this story, especially if we see parallels between this and Nayuta the prophecy. But on the other hand, what ends up happening in this chapter, as we'll discuss the meat and potatoes of the events of the flashback, is that if she served a vital role into showing that she was Denji's true family, something Denji was truly yearning this entire time, it being stripped away by the death of Nayuta would be not only a gut punch, but also just making Denji go through more trauma, more suffering by losing Miaoi, by losing Makima's dogs, by Denji's house being burned on fire. And if there's any last semblance of Denji being stripped away of any happiness, is the death of Nayuta something you can add to that fuel to the fire? Absolutely. But for the small percentage of you, and watch this actually be the case, where Kobeni comes and saves the day, or Kishibe comes saves the day, where is Kishibe? Who knows? You might get your results. But until then, we see in a flashback, Denji leads Nayuta into their home. She wonders why she feels pity for Denji and more specifically his heart. Utilizing her chains, she delves into her past as Makima and her mission to disrupt Denji's peaceful life to awaken Chainsaw Man. Nayuta realizes that destroying this peaceful life in the very same way her past self had will make her realize who she truly is. Now, this is a big revelation in Chainsaw Man, because to the best of our knowledge, we know that when devils die, they go back to hell, they die back in hell to be reincarnated into earth. It's this vicious cycle, but ultimately when they're revised, their past selves, they don't have any semblance of that. Yes, we do see Nayuta use her control powers on Denji as he's asleep, realizing more memories or awakening the past of who she was. But prior to that moment, she actually already admits, why does this guy look so familiar and why do I want his heart? So this is so bizarre to know that the after-lasting effects of what Makima has done to Denji, as we'll discuss later on, her impact into this narrative is also indirectly affecting Nayuta as well. So to see him just kind of now reveal that indirectly Makima has affected Nayuta, thinking, you know what? I don't know who this Makima person is, but if I fulfill her goal, that might give me a sense of identity on why I was here in the first place and what I was truly meant to do. But we do see scenes of shared apartments and various activities as Nayuta and Denji are enjoying themselves together, including playing with the dogs, and Nayuta just really being happy. She questions her own role, prompting Denji to affectionately call her family before being interrupted by another voice, his own. So before we get to that second part, what is this flashback showcasing that hasn't been reinforced already by Nayuta's actions and decisions in the previous chapters? We know that Nayuta is through and through a devil, and that being a devil, the nature side of her says, you know what, I want to destroy humans, where Denji, instructed by Kishibe, but more more importantly, just knowing, hey, if I treat her right and I give her lots of hugs and the things that Pochita told Denji to do, that Makima could have been a different person if she was actually raised properly. Deep down, all she wanted was someone to be acknowledged and love and have affection. That's what we all want at the end of the day. But to bring it back into Chainsaw Man, Nayuta has this mission that she was sent out to do, or that she wanted to do, but ultimately realizing, oh, wait a minute, I actually really like all of this, and despite me being a devil, ultimately the love and affection Denji has showed me has cemented that this is the person I truly want to become, and I want to help him because, well, what is he to me? A family member. I think this is where now people are kind of split on whose flashback it really is. Is it Denji's or is it Nayuta's? Personally, I think this is Denji's flashback. I think whenever we see Nayuta start monologuing and her asking herself, what was I meant to do and who Makima is, etc., I believe this is Denji's flashback from beginning to end, but the parts where Nayuta is talking to herself, I believe whatever Nayuta was doing in those specific moments, those were her decisions and that's what she was thinking, and I think Fujimoto was just showcasing us this is what happened immediately following the moments of Chainsaw Man Part 1, and that we're finally getting the piece to the puzzle, the building blocks per se, that can now merge the gaps between Part 1 and Part 2, because we know Part 2 happened like several months after the events of Part 1, right? And for the obvious reasons, towards the very end of this chapter, we see Denji wake up. To me, this reinforces this is his flashback. But let's actually talk about that now. A younger Denji's image taunts his present day idealization of family, highlighting how he repeatedly sacrificed it to become Chainsaw Man. This reflection triggers a reminder that he killed his own father, abruptly concluding the dream. We find Denji in the hospital room, leaving us uncertain about the extent to which the flashback reflects Nayuta's thoughts. So if you look at this flashback and you exclude Nayuta's dialogue, then it seems a bit more clearly that this is Denji's flashback. But more importantly, why I believe this is Denji's flashback is because there is a panel where it is of an image of a character blurred out where it says, Denji, you're a huge idiot. You don't think about anything. While I do believe this is something Nayuta said in the flashback, this is the part where it gets a little blurred for Denji, because I think Denji's still suffering the psychological after effects of Makima making him go through this mental and serious trauma as a little kid. Denji, you don't think, was something that Denji has heard repeatedly or that we learned about for his character in Part 1, whether it was don't think opening up the door with power, don't think when you're battling Aki, even right now, if this was very clear cut, then Fujimoto should have showed us who the character was. But the fact that it's blurred out, I think this is where Denji's memory is now being skewed, reinforces that Makima is still having this psychological effect on Denji. And I think when Fujimoto is depicting a younger Denji, saying there's no way I can ever have a family, I mean, I killed my own dad, while that second part is unfortunately true, we know it was out of self-defense, and Denji subconsciously believing he couldn't have a family as a result of Makima really just drilling that into his head through the events of Part 1. But Denji wakes up in the hospital bed, and this is why I think Nayuta maybe unfortunately could have kicked the can, because if Nayuta is truly gone, we know from Nayuta's perspective in this flashback that yes, she had ulterior motives because of the after effects of Makima being a thing. Ultimately, Nayuta deep down appreciated Denji to the point where she can call him a family member as well, which is all more to say why Fujimoto is so twisted and dark that Nayuta could no longer be with us. But let me know in the comments down below what you think, and we'll discuss more of this in the live discussion, which you can go ahead and click right here. Take care.